Hey everybody, welcome back to the Know and Follow podcast. This week is a little bit of a different episode. I actually had my wife, Alyssa, on, and what we wanted to talk about was being the parent of a child with a disability. For those of you who don't know, Alyssa and I have a daughter, Ellie, who is autistic, and parenting her has been a unique and special journey. And so what I wanted to have Alyssa on because some of her work is also, as a licensed professional counselor, she works with kids in a school setting for mental health needs, but also has had the opportunity to lead some support groups on parenting children with autism and talk to parents who have dealt with parenting their child through a disability. So I asked Alyssa if she would come on and we'd kind of talk through the lifespan of what a parent of a child with a disability experiences. So Alyssa, thanks so much for popping on. Why don't you talk a little bit about what your experience is kind of in this area about parenting autism, about being an LPC, and then we'll kind of get into kind of going through the lifespan relative to this specific issue.
Yeah. So parenting autism really came out of my passion for parents and caregivers not to feel alone, because a diagnosis can be really heavy. It can be overwhelming. There's a lot involved, and just having that support that existed, something that I think when we walked through, it felt very, very lonely. I don't know what to do. I'm not sure how to tap into these services. Also, what are all these acronyms that exist? Yeah. There seems to be like 40. What does this mean? So a place when someone is either getting a new diagnosis or walking through life, they can sit with other parents and get that validation, and we learn from one another a lot. So it's just like a really safe place for us to gather. It's 8 p.m. on Wednesdays. So if you have young kids, well, hopefully sometimes we're in the background.
Eliza's never in bed.
But also there's understanding among all these parents that if there's chaos in your house,
it's all good.
We're with that. Yeah, we get it.
So let's talk through kind of the journey as a parent, right? So let's talk about kind of what I would call like the pre-diagnosis period of time, right? So this would be more specifically with behavioral health, because physical impairment, physical disability, probably you have a diagnosis relatively soon unless you haven't kind of hit that developmental milestone. But with like a behavioral diagnosis, the pre-diagnosis period, talk about what parents are feeling during that time and what kind of support they might need.
Often there's kind of two feelings with the diagnosis. I guess
this is pre-diagnosis.
Oh, this is pre-diagnosis.
Pre-diagnosis.
Okay, let's go backwards here.
So I'm seeing behaviors, I'm seeing symptoms, but I don't have a name yet.
Okay. So that can mean a lot of things because, depending on your child's level of need and supports that they need to tap into, it can look very different. For us, we had a child who pretty clearly early on, like before age 1, had some indicators, and that didn't just go away. That kind of increased over time. We needed more supports. We had a nonverbal child for a number of years who wasn't toilet trained at a normal age, like all those kind of factors that exist. I think for some parents, there's that feeling of relief in a diagnosis. Like all these things I'm experiencing aren't in my head and they have a name.
Right. Yeah. So the pre-diagnosis can feel like uncertainty. It can feel like, I don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I think something you kind of said there was like the pre-diagnostic stage for something like autism, something like ADHD, it could be 15, 16 years, 17 years where your kid is going through some things, they have their challenges, but we don't have a name for it yet.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's talk going from pre-diagnosis to the diagnosis stage. What are some feelings or things that a parent goes through kind of in that moment? You said relief from it finally having a name, but what else happens kind of at that moment?
I would say grief, and that grief doesn't always go away. It's not like you mourn. And when I say grief, I don't mean grieving your child, right? We love our children. It is the grief
and you're thrilled with who they are.
Right. It's the grief of, I envision your life to look much differently than it did. And I am grieving the dreams I had and laying it aside for something that's going to look a whole lot different in some situations.
Right. And sometimes I think as a parent, that can be instructive because you realize, how do I say this? I think with Ellie made me a better parent to our other children because I realized that I can't live through them. I can't seek, athletic accolades through them. I can't seek academic accolades through them because that's not a healthy way to view my children. But I think it's very natural to, when you have a child, think, oh, they'll get married. Oh, they'll have this career. Oh, they'll have all these interests. And maybe, oh, we'll explore things together with who they are and who they'll be. And I think when you realize, oh, my child's going to be disabled, you realize our journey is going to be very different.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that with that can sometimes come feelings of shame. And shame is a really powerful emotion.
Right. So shame in what way?
So shame in, so you and I are involved, obviously, at CHOP in autism research. We know we've submitted our DNA for our whole family.
There's some evidence that it's genetic, and we can't possibly guess what side it comes from.
Right, we can't possibly guess.
We can't possibly guess. That is my official position, is that we can't possibly guess.
But it's true. There, and I'm not going to get into this, but there's stigmas around things like autism and disabilities. So parents believing I must have caused this. Or it's my genes, or even they develop questions of, can I have more children? What will that look like? I mean, you and I experienced that. We knew that after having one child on the spectrum, that our chances of another was high, especially with having a girl. Autism is more prevalent in boys. Once you have, research shows the oldest being a girl with autism, that prevalence really shoots up. Yeah.
And I would say, relative to what you just said with stigmas and whatnot, I think there is a piece where this is well-intentioned, but words were actually put to this for me by somebody else who was talking about, I believe the person who was talking about this had lost a child. They had lost a child at birth. And what they said was, people want to believe that what they perceive as bad things can't happen to them. And they want to have a worldview that allows them to control the worst possible thing happening to them. And so, and again, he was talking about losing a child. And it's so when you tell someone something, it almost breaks the rules of their universe. So they have to silver line your situation to try to find cause and effect so that they can go back to living in like kind of a place of peace.
Right.
And I think there are a lot of adults or parents who are saying, well, I can't imagine having to go through that. And so in an effort to try to solve, they go, well, I have to find a cause. I have to figure out what the cause is. I have to yell about the cause. I have to get very loud about the cause. And I think it comes from a very good desire to protect our kids and to protect our lives and to protect kind of our worldviews. But I think sometimes what we don't realize we're communicating to a parent of disability is, hey, do you think something you did might have caused this very difficult thing?
And that happens often when I talk to families. We've experienced that.
Right.
But it is a common experience.
It's a little bit like when we had our house fire and somebody said, oh, you must have left lint in the dryer. And I've made a point to say that the guy from Egg Harbor, New Jersey, who came and investigated the fire said that it was not a lint fire because it was not my fault. But it's a well-meaning question, but I don't think it's a terribly helpful one. No. All right. So we had the diagnosis world. As you grow and as you kind of readjust your expectations, you maybe start to look through the experiences of puberty or job or stuff like that. Let's talk about those kind of journeys.
Yeah. And so right now in Parenting Autism, we are exploring, we do topics. And so right now we're in the middle of puberty.
Yeah.
It is something that is hard for any parent to kind of walk through. But, when you have a kid in the spectrum, the way their brain rewires in that time, it also looks different than a typical teen. And you're talking about things like, especially with girls, there are social nuances that are so elaborate for a typical teen.
I'm told.
You're told.
Right.
Yes. But when you have a neurotypical teen who struggles socially, and now have these brand new dynamics as they enter these teen years, it's really, really hard. It can be isolating, it can be lonely. And even things like when you have, we had a discussion this past Wednesday about like self-care and having teen boys who are very smelly, who don't care because those social considerations aren't there.
Right. And I think that age period is also where you start to see the delineation of interest, right? Like, so if you have a kid who's very into something somewhat childish or something like that, as it starts to go into the teen years is when it starts to be, oh, none of your friends are into this thing that you're in. but they're still locked in. You know what I mean? They're still locked into whatever that 7-year-old interest is.
Right. So, and kids in the spectrum or adults can have up to 8 special interests at a time. And those are areas they really care about, they know a lot about, they're passionate about, but they may not understand that others may not care about it or when to stop talking about it.
Or an assumption that their lived experience is everyone's lived experience. I think something we've seen with Ellie is like, so to start talking to somebody about the plot of some show or something, and it's like, Ellie, people haven't watched that show.
Right.
And sometimes somebody is her dad, and she's like, Dad, this is what happened. And I'm like, that's crazy. I don't know who any of those people are. But again, we all want our kids to do well socially. And I think not even being able to equip them to do better socially can be challenging. So let's talk about jobs then. As we prepare kind of, we look forward and we say, I want my child to have a job that is fulfilling and good and safe and all of those types of things. What are some challenges that you would say exist there?
I think balancing what your child is gifted in, what they can excel at, what is realistic for them. And also, you think about things like we talk about driving. How do I know my kid's even going to be able to drive?
Right.
Like what conversations need to have? Individuals in the spectrum often have troubles with depth perception. So involving other people around you to determine like what's safe for them, what they can do, and having a supportive work environment where they're going to be able to talk through things. Like if I have an interaction with a customer, who can I talk to? How can I relax afterwards? There's a bunch of like nuances again that I think you got to think through.
Yeah, and I think if you're an employer, definitely fair to look at your business and say, are there places where I can employ people who have special needs, right? Not that you have to, not that, but like to think about this population and say, are there places where I can make a job appropriate for someone with special needs, even if it required more of me and my team, simply because it's the right thing to do? And I think that's one thing you and I have been very involved with Eagles Autism Challenge with the Philadelphia Eagles. And they support and champion some different businesses, Popcorn for the People, Logic Cleaning Products, who employ autistic people in largely factory-related jobs, but jobs where, I don't know much about pay structure and all that stuff, but jobs where they can live, have fulfilling jobs around people who are like them and also in environments that are safe for them.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So, kind of, I guess, we've kind of gone through different parts of the autism or parent of a child with a disability experience. Is there anything you feel like we didn't quite get to?
I would say the consideration that, if you are a parent who does not have a child with a disability, for a lot of us, not most, a lot of us have kids that may never leave the home. Like it is a lifetime of caregiving.
A lot of parents have children with a disability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I would say, we talk about things like puberty in different stages and whenever that might be a diagnosis, remembering that the Lord is walking with you through all those moments, that it's not a surprise, that it's okay.
Right.
And with that, I told you I've been thinking a lot about the reality of we're eternal beings, right? So all of our children one day will stand before God. All of them. Doesn't matter the disability, because in heaven they'll be fully healed.
Fully able.
Fully able. There we go.
Yeah.
That's a better word. But when you think about the weight of that, like I imagine Ellie standing before God and recalling people in her life who took the time and had the patience to tell her about Jesus.
Right. Or
that
kind
is wild.
to her. Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah.
And I don't know how things will go, obviously, but when I imagine that it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's encouraging for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like creating environments that are inclusive, that are welcoming, that try to make, things as normative as normal as possible. Talking to your kids about kids in their class who might be disabled. How does that make them feel? What types of things do they see happening? What can they do about it? Because it's, I would say it's anxiety producing for us. Like, everybody's anxious about their kid in a school environment, but I don't know. I'm I'm worried about Isley for 1,000 different reasons, but I'm less worried about Isley than I am about Ellie sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isley, if you listen to this, I don't even know how you found it. But anyway, okay. Yeah. So the final thoughts, any final thoughts? Pretty much gathered it.
That was it.
All right. We got it. All right. We solved it right here. So anyway, thank you, Alyssa, for making time for this. And I would say generally just, if there are parents of disabled children in your lives, try to, connect with them, ask what they need, ask what they're hoping for, ask what they're, looking for, because I would guess that I will say for me, my tendency is to make kind of our world smaller, right? To kind of control for what we can control for. And that can lead to us probably being less social than we would maybe like to be. And one challenge I think for us as Ellie's gotten older has been to say, okay, let's kind of unwind some of those habits we developed when she was under 5 years old and try to engage more with people around us. But yeah, that would be probably my biggest closing thought.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Alyssa.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Know and Follow podcast. This podcast is a production of Grace Community Church of Willow Street, located at 212 Peach Bottom Road in Willow Street, Pennsylvania. If you're looking for a place to worship, we'd love to have you join us. Our services are Saturdays at 6 p.m., Sundays at 8, 9:15, and 11 a.m. This podcast is hosted, produced, and edited by Pastor Addison Roberts, the digital pastor of Grace Community Church. You can learn more about our church at gccws.net. Our theme music is Only the Brave Run Wild by Sounds Like Sander. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.